Chuck Carnival. I'm the Chuck in the Markets Up Chuck. And today my blog is entitled "Why Our Economy is So Strong." And the reason I wrote this is because I really do believe that the underlying strength of our economy is enormous. And with all the talk of a recession, which to me is just part of a business cycle, or economic cycle, where we have to make some adjustments and the laws of supply and demand work. Recessions come and go, and I do believe that what is happening, though, if you look at the actual characteristic of economic activity and growth over the last many decades, certainly even going back to the Great Depression of 1929, those comparisons to me are just insane. Think about all the technological advances and all the productivity enhancements that the world has basically seen over the last 8 decades. So what I'm going to do today on the investment side of my blog is I'm going to take a look at some companies that have participated in that growth in terms of productivity, companies that have helped us in all various aspects of our economic needs, the food, clothing, et cetera, and look at it from an investment point of view. And as I pointed out in my written blog, I'm only going to touch the surface of this. There are so many names that didn't even exist in 1929 that are available today that are just really, bringing us so much promise and so much future opportunity that, there's no possible way I could ever cover them. As I go through these companies, I want you to look at them from the standpoint of, what kind of productivity enhancements they've brought mankind, but I also want you to see them for the investment merit. So my first example here is Monsanto, hybrid seed corn. This company has really helped feeding the world. It's making, our ability to produce grains and other essential foodstuffs so much more effective and productive, higher yields, drought resistant, and this company has been helping us feed the world. As you can see, they've also performed extremely well as an operating business. They've grown earnings by over 23% a year, and they've done that right through the recession. In fact, you can almost argue that this company has a recession resistant business plan. The company is reasonably priced today, a little pricier than a lot at 20 times earnings, but it's certainly cheaper than the market's been capitalizing it at recently. But here's a company that's really helping feed the world. The second choice that's been around a long time is United Technologies, Sikorsky Aircraft, Pratt & Whitney jet engines, Carrier air conditioning, Otis elevator, just to name a few of their divisions. But one of the things that I thought was really important and why they qualified as a company helping us with productivity is there are actually major corporations today using United Technologies fuel cells to actually power their corporations. Merck's using it for their headquarters. I know Whole Foods is using it to power their grocery stores. This company is bringing in a tremendous enhancement to our future productivity, and as you can see, it's been a very consistent grower, and the company is trading at a very low valuation of under 11 times earnings today, with a very bright future with some tremendous products in the pipeline. FLIR Systems has numerous technologies out there that help us with everything from our security and our government. But one of the things that I really like about this company is thermal imaging, where they can actually, photograph buildings and determine where the energy losses are to make them more efficient and more effective and more fuel, economical. And again, you can see a company whose earnings have grown at over 26%, trading at 16.8 times earnings, one of the lowest valuations you've seen in a long time, and another example of a great company that you can buy at a reasonable price today, thanks to the recession, that has performed very well and promises to make life better for us in the future as we look there. Then you can look at a name like First Solar, one of the more, I'd say, speculative companies that I've shown so far, but you can see just unbelievable growth. This company obviously is, building solar panels and, harnessing the sun for our future energy needs, and it's just one of the other areas that's going to help us be so much more productive. I've talked about Hewlett-Packard in the past. This company has all kinds of extremely exciting technology. They have they're very strong in nanotechnology, which is mind-boggling, the potential that nanotechnology actually offers us going into the future, things that we couldn't even consider even as little as 5 or 10 years ago. They've got the new product, the Memristor, which is going to revolutionize computer technology, and it's companies like Hewlett-Packard that are leading the way to helping us become more and more productive, and therefore our economy is becoming more and more effective in feeding, clothing, housing, and sheltering, and providing us even things like information, which are critical. Of course, when you mention information, you got to think about the internet. The internet didn't even exist 80 years ago during the last recession. Here's a company called Akamai, which is a internet enhancer. It actually an actuator. It actually helps companies move their stuff over the internet more effectively, faster, and efficiently. And as you can see, the company's had a tremendous growth rate, very little debt on the balance sheet, trading at a very low valuation, and is a very attractive company from an investment standpoint right now, in my opinion. But it's also a company that's helping making us, as an economy, much more effective. And of course, you can't talk about effectiveness and productivity without once again mentioning Google. Google is bringing us information to our fingertips. Think about, we can go to Google and ask it for anything, and virtually almost all the world's information is available at any of our fingertips right now. And think of how powerful that is and how much more productive the world is thanks to companies like Google that didn't even exist, several decades ago, or even for that matter, several years ago. In that same vein, you have an eBay. Think of all the thousands and thousands of businesses that have been started as a result of eBay, and what a levelizer companies like Google and eBay have been. And then with the advent of companies like Akamai making all this work so much more efficiently, it just has unbelievable long-term promise, for economic growth and prosperity. Of course, there are way too many names to even mention when you talk about things like the healthcare industry. You've got things like Celgene, which is doing tremendous work in advanced medicines where they're actually treating the actual cause of the disease rather than just the symptoms. Tremendous company, tremendous growth, little low debt on the balance sheet. It's a company that's increased earnings right through the recession, like most of the ones I've shown you today. Very, very, very inexpensive, but also one that's increasing the economic productivity dramatically. As I mentioned in the beginning, I haven't even touched the surface in talking about all the different companies that have, enhanced human productivity to such a great extent. Human productivity is key. It really comes down to what, the amount of goods and services that we can produce. That's where the real wealth is. Money and, inflation and deflation, all those things are just part of the medium of exchange. But, any economy that's really strong and healthy is one that's capable of producing an enormous amount of goods and services. And that's why I'm such an optimist as I look forward to the future, because I know that our world and our economy is getting more and more productive every day. Recessions are going to come and go. They're part of that supply and demand process that I talked about in the blog, but I think it's very important to be optimistic regarding our future. There's challenges for sure. There's always going to be problems, as Charlie Munger said in the last Berkshire Hathaway meeting, or I think perhaps it was Warren Buffett who said there's always problems with the world, but I also believe in the human spirit in solving those problems, and I also believe that our economies just keep getting more and more productive, not just in our country, but all over the world, and even in the emerging nations. I believe optimism is the only true perspective to have, and I think the most intelligent perspective. It's Chuck Carnival. I thank you for listening and look forward to talking to you again tomorrow. I would also like to add, however, all these companies are just names that I've looked at from the standpoint of looking at their fundamentals at a glance using this tool. They all need to be researched before you lay your money down. Again, this is Chuck Carnival saying thanks for listening. Talk to you tomorrow.